Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Val, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you today. It is September 2nd. It is Friday, and wow, there's a lot that's going on. The economy is falling apart. The unemployment rate is rising, and this is going to have a substantial impact on your life. And that's kind of scary. But we have been talking about this since February of 2021. We have been trying to make you prepared, giving you honest answers and the sources so that you can manage your economic health and that you can be prepared for the upcoming, not just a recession, but a long-term recession with high inflation, what we think is stagflation. Now, you may disagree, but let's show you what we're talking about. Now, before we get started, though, we do want to mention, if this is the first time that you're seeing the channel, we welcome you. We thank you for being part of our audience. We want you to know that every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream with you. We reach out on all the social media that the internet overlords will allow to hear your voices from anywhere in the world. Tell us what you think is important and going on in the world. It's because we believe in the First Amendment. We believe in free speech. Even if your country doesn't believe in that, even if the internet overlords are upset by that, we want to hear your voice every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we look forward to seeing you this Sunday as well. So I know this is not the most hot button issue. It's not House of the Dragon. It's not Rings of Power. It's not exciting, but it is important. This will change your life. You may not see those TV shows. You may not watch She-Hulk, or maybe you will. But that's not going to change the money in your pocket or your ability to keep or to get a job. That's what is important. And that's what we want to talk about today. Now, we were talking recently about the minimum wage and how there are efforts, again, by Democrats to increase the minimum wage, even though that will create 1.6 million job losses. That's right, it's going to kill jobs by increasing the minimum wage. We discussed that already. But even separate of that, even if Democrats are not able to increase the minimum wage before or immediately after the 2022 midterm elections, what's going on with the recession? What's going to happen to the money that you want in your pocket if you can get it? What's going to happen with the price of food? Well, let's try and take a look at that and try and give you the answers to these very important questions for your economic health. Now, we do long-form political commentary, so let's take a step back in time. It was just 1 month, a little bit less than 1 month ago, that we saw that the White House was trying to tell Americans across the nation and the world that the economy in the United States was absolutely healthy. Everything was going great. You just didn't understand that. Mind you, we were at 9% inflation. But let's see what they had to say. It was the White House press secretary, Jean-Pierre, who said, quote, "So as we've been saying for many months now, we are in and the president, including the president, has been saying we're in a transition to a stable and steady growth. And during that transition, what you'll see is instead of that record high breaking number, job numbers that we've been seeing every month in the realm of 500,000 to 600,000 jobs on average per month, we're expecting closer to 150,000 jobs per month. And so that would actually that will be a sign of a success in this transition, and this kind of job growth is consistent with the below unemployment numbers that we've been seeing, that rate of 3.6%, and we see that, and others have see that as a healthy economy." Let's take a moment to break that down. So what the press secretary and the White House have said is that we are in a transition. We're going from a relatively weak economy in 2021 to a even worse economy. The impact of the lockdowns basically has already been accounted for. That gave us the weak economy of 2021. We've all felt that. We've all seen that. But now we're going to go into even slower growth. We're going into even fewer jobs, even higher unemployment, even higher costs. Now, we already know that the White House has signaled, and the WHO, all the world governments have mentioned that there is going to be a food shortage for the rest of this year going into 2023. That is a fact. Estimates are that there will be approximately a 40% shortage of food in the world. That is a fact. These are indisputable. There is no plan to adjust for that. Unless you've been listening to this channel since January of 2022, there is nothing to adjust for that coming from the United States government or any world government that we are aware of. And we know that that has led to riots and toppling of governments like in Sri Lanka. But what the White House is saying in August is that this is all good, that this is positive for America, that we are going to do what the Obama administration said, is we're going to have slower growth, that everything is shrinking down and not to have expectations of a positive income, a positive economy for the United States and therefore the rest of the world. That's kind of scary. Now, the White House was banking on the fact that you would only look at and listen to the unemployment number. And they were saying, see, we have unemployment at 3.6, 3.5%. We're doing great. That's proof that everything is doing well because unemployment is down. Well, we're going to talk about that because it's not accurate. But we also want to take a look at something else that was said very recently. Matter of fact, on August 23rd, what we saw is that the White House said that they expect slower economic growth in 2022 than originally projected. In other words, again, they are telling us the economy is not doing well. Even though they said the economy is healthy on August 4th, by August 23rd, they had to admit the reality that things are not going well because if they were, the economy would not slow. The growth would continue on pace. This is an admission of failure of their economic policy. They didn't want to word it that way. They don't want to say it that way because that would be negative for the 2022 midterm elections. People would be less likely to vote in Democrats to continue these economic policies if they don't work. So they're wording it very carefully through their connections in the left-leaning media, this coming from the New York Times, a very left-leaning news media outlet. But the fact is, as they highlight here, officials now see inflation rate as measured by the Consumer Price Index of 6.6% over the same period, up from 2.9% rate they forecasted in March. This is coming from the White House Office of Management and Budget, which is looking at 1.4% economic growth. That's after adjusting for inflation. But the fact is, they're saying that inflation is going to go down. Remember, we were told by the Biden White House, by Janet Yellen, that we were going to see inflation being transitory. It's only going to be short term. This is what they were saying in January and February of 2022, as we covered on this channel. That's a lie. And now they're saying, don't worry, inflation 9.1%, 8.5%, it's going to go down. We've already reached the peak. Everything is okay. We are not in a recession, even though by definition, the old definition, yes, we are. They changed the definition so that it would sound good to you, so that they could say, no, we're not in a recession. Things are just slowing down, which is one of the definitions and one of the key parts of a recession, which means prices are going to go up. That's why inflation is as high as it is. And it's going to continue to go higher, we believe, and we have predicted. Now, you may say, Mike, you're just misreading that. And this is old news. Well, we're going to get to the current news. But again, this is important for your retirement funds. This is important for when you're buying food and goods at stores. This is important for how you manage your money and how much money you will have available to pay your bills. This is important. I know it's boring because it's numbers, but please follow with me here. Now, I want to tell you that everything we're talking about, we've discussed this before. And people will say, well, Mike, you're not an economist. No, I'm not. But I have spoken to economists like Richard Vedder, an economist of over 25 years, 50 years, and he agrees with our projections and what we have been warning people about since January of 2022, that the economy is falling apart. The Biden outlook is failing the American people and is driving the nation into worse of a situation. And we said that back on August 26th because the data shows that. I want to be very clear. We have been telling you that inflation will hit at least 15%. We know that the Bank of England has already stated that England is going into and is in a recession as we speak. And they are targeting 18% inflation as they go into 2023 and perhaps beyond. And that they are looking at a long-term recession, a recession that will last until maybe the end of 2023, if not 2024. We believe that you're looking at 2024 at a minimum. Of course, we know that President Biden, in his most recent speeches, in particular his speech yesterday, September 1st, would not address any of that. And we did cover that entire speech, which wasn't very long at 28 minutes. But what he did speak about is dividing America, separating America. He originally had separated America between those who were vaccinated and those who were unvaccinated. Now he's separating Americans by those who believe in an America First policy to everyone else. He's dividing Americans and demonizing Americans for believing in making America great versus those who want to make America more socialist. That's the divide he is trying to create. And if you do not agree with the policies and the way he's saying things, well, then you must be evil and you are wrong. That is what he said on September 1st. Whether you agree with it or not is totally separate of what he has said. And he has continuously said that the economy is good, that everything is going great, whether you recognize it or not, because you aren't smart enough to understand. That is the White House's point of view. I don't agree with that. I don't know anyone who does agree with that. Let's take a look at what he's counting on. Because the world is looking at this and they are trying to figure out how to make the best out of this bad situation. We know that in Europe is looking forward to what is happening under the Biden economic plan. European markets jumped after the U.S. jobs report just came out and it matched the expectations. This is what's going to be in the headlines today. Everyone today, September 2nd, is going to be talking about everything is going according to plan. Well, that plan is for failure. That's the part they're leaving out. That's the part they're not telling you about to let you prepare for the worst case scenario. What they said, and this is coming from CNBC, the U.S. economy added 315,000 jobs in August, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported on Friday. The figure was below the Dow Jones consensus estimate of 318,000, while the unemployment rate rose to 3.7%, slightly above expectations of 3.5%. Unemployment increased. That's not the headline they want you to hear. That's not the headline they want to tell you, that unemployment is increasing and that inflation is high and likely to go higher, that this is having a negative impact on the economy, that the Biden-Harris economic policies are failing Americans. And unlike what they said, that it's supposed to be stable, it's getting worse. They don't want to say that because CNBC wants you to vote Democrat. Just like Biden said on September 1st, you have to vote Democrat. Why would you vote to have a worse economy? Let's go on. The reading will help cool market fears that a much more buoyant labor market would give the Federal Reserve license to hike interest rates much more aggressively as it tries to rein in inflation. This is the part that I think is very key. What we're looking at is an increase of interest rate. This will affect your pocket. Do you have a mortgage? Do you have a car loan? Do you have any kinds of loan? Your credit cards are all going to go higher. That means that's more money that's coming out of your pocket month by month. Even if you're renting, this means that you're going to pay more in your rent. Why? Because the owner, the landlord, has a mortgage, because energy costs are going up, because your credit cards and the business's credit cards and their business loans are all going higher. That means that money has to come from somewhere. And while we all get told day by day that corporations have excess money and they are just greedy, the reality is 70% of all businesses are mom and pop businesses. They are small businesses, and they are making minimal gains, if at all. Many of them are just break even, and they have not recovered from the 2020 lockdowns. Most of these businesses are still running at below the staffing numbers, at below the profit margins or even break evens that they had in 2019 or 2020. So we are still in a dangerous position in terms of the economy. Your job is still at risk. And I think most of you watching this know that. You know that you have less people working and they have to work harder. And many people are not getting the same number of hours that they have been receiving prior to the lockdowns. Even to this day, and this is now, 2 years later. And you know this, and the world knows this. So that's important to understand. Interest rates are going higher. That means you will have less money. You're going to pay more in all your bills. You're going to pay more in taxes, but you're going to have less money for you. Please prepare for that. Please start thinking about that. And we still haven't even taken into account the cost of food that's going to be absolutely critical to your life. Let's continue with what they are saying and what we expect so we can get to our prediction. This is coming from, again, CNBC. On August 16th, we were told that the U.S. supply chain is now facing 2 trade hurdles. Why is that important? What does that matter to you? I know you don't follow this. Most people don't. But this is important. Think about it. In your stores right now, 15% of all the shelves are empty. And they have been empty since before January of 2022. It's not getting better. Just like the baby food crisis that we've gone through that continues at this moment. We are seeing a shortage of a lot of goods. And that's going to get worse because, again, there is a food shortage that is literally around the corner in October. We know that the food prices are going to increase. That's inflationary. And we know that the Biden-Harris administration's policies, they're increasing the amount of debt, which increases inflation. They're printing money. Not just the $54 billion that they're sending to Ukraine, that is brand new money, but even when we see things like what's happening in California, Alaska, and even in Pennsylvania, where they're looking to send out inflation checks, and we're going to see this in more and more Democratic states to try and buy more votes, but they're sending out $2,000 inflation checks to the citizens. That's money they don't have. That increases inflation. The student loan debt buyout, that is purely to get votes, and that adds another $600 billion to the debt, which means more money being printed, more inflation. Under the Obama administration, America transitioned to a service economy. Remember, President Obama said he wanted to transform America. He didn't tell you what he wanted to transform it into. Well, we found out. We are a service economy. We don't manufacture things in the United States anymore. We haven't for quite some time. And if you doubt this or if you're unaware of this, let's be very specific about it. This is from U.S. Debt Clock. The United States, our manufacturing in the year 2000 before the 9/11, before anything else, we saw that we had 17 million manufacturing jobs in the United States. After the Obama administration, and now going forward, we're at 12.8 million manufacturing jobs. That's 5 million less manufacturing jobs. That means America doesn't make things. We have to rely on other countries to make it for us. And in particular, we were relying on China and Europe. Those are major areas for us. So why, going back to the supply chain, Germany cannot manufacture what we need. Europe is not manufacturing as much as we need. And part of that is because they're not getting gas from Russia. Part of that is because the cost of energy is increasing and they are going into a recession and they are facing inflation of their own. At the same time, China, who is pissed off at America and has been pissed off at America because of Nancy Pelosi and Taiwan, well, they're slowing down what they're manufacturing. They call it because of the pandemic. They say there's a lot of reasons for it, like the Uyghurs being disappeared. But the reality is, this is economic warfare. They slow down the manufacturing, and we have less goods that are available for you and me. There's just less stuff to buy. And that's important because the fewer things that are available, the higher the price. And they know that. This is a punishment from China against the United States at the same time that Germany and Europe can't make the things we need. There is no alternative here. They don't have the energy to be able to make as much. And going through this, which is again coming from CNBC, they're the ones telling you this. So this isn't right-wing politics. This is the economic data coming from the left. Another big thing that's important about this is we're going into the third and fourth quarter. You know what that means? Holiday buying. That means Thanksgiving and Christmas. It means Halloween. These are the things that people celebrate around the world, especially in America, and you're going to spend extra money out of your pocket. Mind you, you're going to have less money because inflation is continuing to increase and there are fewer jobs. And we see that unemployment is rising, the unemployment rate. According to CNBC, we know that there are backlogs at every single port in America. All those ship containers, there's a backlog everywhere. Some of those backlogs going as much as 30 days, which means it's going to take longer for you to get the things you need, which means more shelves that are going to be empty and higher prices when they try to fill those shelves whenever they get something coming in. And for the holidays, for Thanksgiving and for Christmas in particular, the most important time for the U.S. economy, what we're going to see is that the shippers, the manufacturers, are going to send things by air. Alan Baer, the CEO of OL USA. Due to the vessel delays of the USEC, the potential for additional blank sailing in September and October may create unanticipated space and capacity restraints. These reductions may limit importers' options for any seasonal rush cargo and force companies to use air versus ocean. Let's be clear about what does that mean? There's not enough space. They cannot get the goods to you fast enough. And that's happening right now in September, and it will continue in October. They can't get stuff to you. The shelves are going to get emptier. On top of that, because they know they need to get stuff to you for Thanksgiving and for Christmas and for Hanukkah, well, what are they going to do? They're going to send it by air. Why is that important? How does that affect you? The cost will go up. Whether it's food or whether it's a gift or whether it's just putting shirts on your kids, it's going to cost more because they're going to have to send it by air since they can't get it here fast enough through the ports. The delay is too long, but it costs a lot more to fly something to the United States rather than to send it by boat. A lot more. It is far more expensive, sometimes 2 or 3 times as expensive. And that means that you are going to have to pay more. That cost is being passed to you. So in November and in December, the things that you want to buy are going to cost a lot more money, on top of the fact that food will be more expensive. Do you see the picture that I'm painting for you? This is an economy that is going downhill. Inflation is continuing to rise, and supplies are continuing to decrease, and the cost of those things are going to increase. This is money that is coming right out of your pocket. And that's not assuming that the geopolitics make it worse. It is important. The politics between China and the United States, the politics between Russia and the rest of the world are going to affect your pocket. Because it's not just about being able to fly things over to you. It's things like what we're seeing here as reported on August 31st, 3 days ago. Nord Stream 1, Russia's Gazprom halts gas supply to Germany. This has come from Deutsche Welle, the major German newspaper. And they are stating that Nord Stream 1, that gives energy to Germany, it got shut down again. And this is considered a geopolitical attack. This is Russia punishing Germany for supporting Ukraine and the United States for supporting Ukraine. They are going to take away the energy from Germany. Now, that's not just energy for manufacturing, that's for people to live. And Germany has to be able to focus. Remember, we already know that Germany has said, and we have seen that Germany is slowing down the import containers. They're slowing down their supply chain. And we know that that's before Russia decided to shut down the energy to punish them even more. What does that mean to you? We can't rely on the EU, the European Union, to make up the difference from what we're getting in China. And it means that energy prices around the world are going to go up because Germany, no matter what Russia does, they need to have the energy to heat their homes from their people. Otherwise, they will freeze to death. And that means that that energy also is important for businesses to run. So Germany has to go out and buy oil and gas. That means the cost of oil and gas has to go up because they need to buy it. Demand is up, supply is down. That means higher prices everywhere you go. It's economics 101, which means everything that comes to America from Europe is going to be at a higher cost, and energy prices around the world are going to go up, which means in the winter, when you're trying to pay your heating bill and your electric bill, it's going to be more expensive. Whether you have an electric car or not, it's going to be more expensive. That is a fact. Again, that's something that you're not hearing from the White House. It's not something that's being explicitly mentioned to you by the major news media in the United States. This is being carefully worded so you don't understand that it's about to get a lot worse. And they won't tell you the truth until after the November elections because Democrats they can't get a win, so they need to make you feel like everything is okay, at least until after the election, so that they can maintain the power, or as much of the power, as they have right now. According to the Economic Times on September 2nd, today, we know that people are trying to shift away from China because it's obvious China is upset with the United States over Taiwan. They're upset that Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan. They're upset that the United States has said or is saying that Taiwan deserves to be independent. They are pissed at us. And so they're taking that out under the guise of the pandemic. And just in general, they're saying we're going to make less. And the tech companies are saying we've got to find somewhere else to make all those things. Well, if you're living in New York State and you know that Texas is cheaper to live and it's more cost effective to live in Texas, that's fantastic but taking everything you have in New York State and moving it over to Texas is going to cost you a hell of a lot of money. So even though it's cheaper in Texas, you had to spend a lot more to get to Texas. You're not going to recoup the lower costs for a year or two. Same thing with business, large or small. So as we see your iPhones and your Apple and your Androids and all of that technology, as it's trying to get out of China, it's going to cost more money because they have to build up the factories, build up everything in other countries like Vietnam, and they have to build all that and then move everything over. It's going to cost you more money. This is at the same time that energy prices are going up. This is at the same time that it costs more to ship things to you to try and fill those shelves that are becoming emptier as we go forward. And at the same time that food prices are going up. This is why we're seeing this all happen. I'm trying to make this simple for you. I'm trying to boil it all down to things that you and I can understand without an economics degree. I'm trying to make you understand what the reality of what's happening right now and how it's going to affect your life. I'm trying to give you the details so you can see through the headlines that are telling you everything is great and the lies that are coming from the White House and the press secretary saying the economy is good. It's not, and it's not going to be good anytime soon. This is the reality, and they're trying to hide it from you by trying to carefully word things and to hide the details. But the details exist, and they're obvious to everyone in the world. Let's look at Bloomberg. Now, for Bloomberg, back on August 1st, they mentioned that U.S. manufacturing is expanding at the slowest pace in the last 2 years. This is something that Joe Biden has been lauding. He's been saying in speech after speech, his election campaigns, the election propaganda that he's been putting out there, that American manufacturing is growing. It's fantastic. It's doing so well. And that's why we don't have to worry about the manufacturing overseas. Even though America is a service economy, manufacturing is coming back. And that's going to make America great, even though he doesn't want to say that. That's why he says it's Build Back Better, because American manufacturing is growing. Except it's not growing. It's slowing down. We are still reliant on overseas to make stuff for us. And as I just showed you, we are down 5 million manufacturing jobs versus 2000. We are a service economy. We can't make all the stuff we need. And it is not improving. It is slowing down. That's what they said on August 1st. Now, with the latest numbers, which we're going to get to, in September 1st, U.S. manufacturing growth holds steady. Inflation pressures ease. This is coming from the same Bloomberg article, the same guy. This is from Jordan Yadu, who just told us in August 1st, that the economy is slowing down, that manufacturing is slowing down, that America is not able to make things. And now he's trying to give you a happy, feel-good kind of article saying U.S. manufacturing growth is holding steady. It's holding steady at a negative. He's counting the fact that you didn't look at his article 1 month earlier telling you things are getting worse. And now he's trying to make you feel good by saying things are holding even. Why is he doing that? The same reason why Biden decided to say that America is doing great. It's just evil MAGA Republicans. Well, guess what? Numbers don't lie. It has nothing to do with whether you believe America is great or not. The fact is, the economic policies are failing each and every one of us. Jordan says in his article on September 1st, yesterday, U.S. manufacturing growth steadied in August at the slowest pace in 2 years. He can't even hide the fact that we are in trouble. While a measure of material costs declined for the fifth straight month in a welcome sign, inflationary pressures are abating. He's trying to tell you that inflation is getting better, except that's not realistic. Again, inflation is both how much money are we spending? And we're spending a hell of a lot more. And it's also about the cost of energy, which we see from Germany is going higher. And it's the cost of getting the goods, which we know from China is going to be increasing, as well as we have been told getting things to the shelves is going to cost more, which means inflation is going up, not down. These are all things that for the next 6 months are increasing, not decreasing, which means it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt your pocket. Let me give you a real view of this looking at a couple of numbers here. And I know this may not be exciting. It's not exciting. Numbers aren't fun. The data isn't fun, but it's important for you to understand the reality so that you can make your household safe, that you can prepare for this, so that you can budget for this, because unlike the United States, we don't have unlimited wealth. You just can't keep spending forever. You can't do what the government does. In fact, if the government was a business, it would have collapsed decades ago. Okay, I want you to see this as clearly as possible. So this is data that's coming from the Bureau of Labor Statistics itself. This is the A8 report. And again, all links that we're talking about will be in the description so you can see this for yourself. I want you to see something that's very important here. What we are looking at is the number of small businesses in America. That's this line right here. Self-employed workers unincorporated. Small businesses are the engine of job growth. 70% of all jobs are in small businesses. This is a critical number. Mom and pops who own their own business are the way that people get jobs. And what we can see very clearly is that under the Biden-Harris administration, compared to August 2021, and even compared to earlier this year, the number of small businesses is down, and that is significant. The fewer small businesses we have, the fewer jobs we have, which is why we are seeing unemployment increase. Just a year ago, we were at 9.6 million small businesses. Today, we are at 8.9 million small businesses. That is huge. That is a massive increase and part of the reason why we're seeing unemployment rates increase. I'll show you another set of data here. We are out of the summer, out of everyone being on vacation. People are trying to go back to work, and there is no jobs available because small businesses have closed because the jobs just don't exist for them. And so we saw the unemployment rate increase. And that is a problem. That is a big problem. And the numbers don't lie. At the same time, the number of people that they do not count in the unemployment rate, the number that we don't count about the number of people who aren't getting unemployment checks, has decreased. That means people are trying to get jobs and they aren't there. The more people who are unemployed, the more that we have to take money. We have to print money to pay them to help for their unemployment and for their food stamps and to pay for their government aid. It is a number that comes out of our pockets. This is money we don't have, and we cannot make it up anywhere else. Our economy is getting that much worse. You say, Mike, but how bad could it be? Okay, let me show you how bad it can be. This is from U.S. Debt Clock. We currently have $30.8 trillion in debt. We're about to hit $31 trillion. Quite possibly by the end of the year or the beginning of 2023. We are spending $1.5 trillion right now. That's how much debt that we have. It is 124% of our GDP. You make $100,000, you're $24,000 in debt. This is you as an individual. Do you think you could maintain that to be 25% in debt on top of everything? I'm trying to make this as simple as I can so that you can see the numbers for yourself. Again, We have 5 million less people working and manufacturing in the United States. That is a fact versus 2000. This is a long-term change. This is the transformation in America that Joe Biden and Barack Obama brought to us, and it is getting worse. The total debt per person is increasing. The liabilities are $171 trillion. That's the real debt of the United States. We cannot pay that off. So what does this all mean? Let me try and break this down. What is our prediction? What are we looking at? Very simply, the economy is not getting better. As much as Joe Biden would like you to believe that, as much as Democrats want you to believe that, there is a reason why they're trying to buy votes, whether it's with student loans that are being forgiven or whether it's checks that are being paid out to you for inflation help. And things like the Inflation Reduction Act are increasing the inflation, spending more money, and not actually reducing government spending, not reducing the cost of energy, not reducing the cost of food. We are not going to see this recession end until 2024 at the earliest. That is a reality. I want you to understand that. The cost of food is not going to significantly decrease probably for an entire year. It's not just the winter. The crops have to be replanted, they have to grow, and then they have to be harvested. So you're looking at roughly an entire year before food becomes available as it has been in previous years. That is a big impact. So the cost of food will increase probably until January of 2023, possibly even longer. And the cost of energy is going to increase throughout the entire winter. You're looking at February of 2023. And we are going to continue to see spending increasing probably well into March of 2023. Democrats, after the November elections of 2022, they're going to be in what's called a lame duck session. They're going to pass a bunch of bills spending money to try and make themselves look good for 2024. They're going to blame Republicans for trying to reduce the spending, which would reduce the inflation. And they're going to spend a lot of money between November and January of 2023, November of 2022, and January of 2023 to make you think that Democrats are doing a good job. They're going to give you free stuff, except it costs you money. It's going to increase the net spending, which means inflation will go higher. Republicans will try to repeal that and cut it back, which means they're going to be bad guys for taking away your, quote, free stuff and helping to reduce inflation. And Democrats are going to say, see, you should have kept us in power. Vote us back in 2024. That's what the message is going to be. That's their plan at this moment. That's why we believe that, like the Bank of England, we are seeing the United States in stagflation. It's something that we saw in the 1970s. And you're going to see it again. In my lifetime, this has happened once. This is the second time it's going to happen. For most of the viewers, this will be the first time we've experienced this, and it's not pleasant. It's going to be very scary for many people. We're going to see less food on the shelves. We're going to see emptier shelves. We believe that 25% of the shelves in America going until the end of the first quarter of 2023 are going to be empty. You're going to see the cost of everything from Thanksgiving and Christmas increase probably 10, maybe 12%, because it has to be sent by air because it can't be sent by boat. Energy prices are going to continue to increase, probably another 10, maybe 20% from what we see right now, which is terrifying, which means that the cost for making everything, for jobs just existing, is going to increase, being pushed onto you, the consumer. and this is going to last until 2024. Not only that, we believe that not unlike what we saw in Europe, we're going to see the United States somewhere around 15 to 18% official inflation. What that means to you, real world, is that inflation is going to be up somewhere around 40 to 50%, depending on the items that you buy. The good news, we've told you about. We've been telling you about this since February of 2021. We reiterated and made very clear in February of 2022. And we are updating it even further today to let you know to prepare. That means either try and stock up on food, things like rice and flour, canned foods that you will be able to have long term. You will save money. If we're wrong, you will have money, you will have food that you can donate to veterans or the homeless. Fantastic. But if we are correct, you're going to save money versus what it's going to cost just in the next 2 to 3 months. But we believe that this is how you can prepare for the next year. We hope we're wrong. We don't think we will be. But we do also hope that you'll join us every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to find out more about what's going on in our economy and in the world, and to tell us what you think. We hope to see you then.